I'm going to talk about the trim on the Electrolarm and replacing it. If you have an Electrolarm, and chances are you're missing at least some part of the trim. Before I get into that, somebody requested that I show the lenses that I had redone with the mirror effect. So if you get back to part 1 in this series, all of the Electrolarms, the 3 Electrolarms I have pictured there, all done with the mirror effect paint. So I don't have one out of the Electrolarm right now, but that's what they look like. So with the Electrolarm trim, it gets tricky. Of all the Electrolarms I've purchased, I still don't have a complete set of brass trim. So, and that's what I'm talking about, is the brass trim here, not the wooden trim. So there's somebody online, and maybe you've seen this, but he gives a great tip. He says that the Plastruck company has a plastic sheet that they sell, which is very similar to the pattern on the Electrolarm brass trim. So I went ahead and bought that. It wasn't cheap. I think they were thinking I was working on an architect's salary, but well worth it in the end. So it came in a big sheet that was about twice that size, and I had to cut it down. And the first thing I did was I measured the distance for the trim right there. And what I came up with is it's about 8 millimeters, a little bit short of 8 millimeters maybe. I think it's originally 5/16. So now the problem with that, so the first step is to cut the Plastruck sheet into these strips that are about 8 millimeters wide or 5/16 wide. The problem is when you're cutting this stuff, it's not very precise. The blade kind of wobbles as it cuts through the plastic. So I get it as close as I can. I want it to be over rather than under. Okay, so once I've got that, I take a piece and I put the flat end down in there, and I measure the top, and I cut right across there. Then I estimate the curvature. Okay, and then it's a matter of simply taking this piece and something to sand with, like an emery board, and just sanding on the side and continuously putting that back in until it fits into the Electrolarm trim groove there. And I'll just tell you that I've spent hours on each set that I've made to get it right. So it's not a quick thing, but it's very satisfying when you get it all put together. So what you're looking at here is the Plastruck imitation trim that I created. Over here, these pieces are original trim from the Electrolarm. So after I've got this and each one sets in there exactly the way I want it to, I'm ready to put some paint on it. By the way, for this piece right here, I've never gotten this piece in all the Electrolarms that I bought. So I just simply made this piece here, and the right length and width came in behind it, marked it, and then cut it out. So what I did was I hit the pieces with primer, and then I used this right here, the Rust-Oleum Bright Coat Metallic Finish, and the one that I decided on was the Bright Coat Gold. I bought a couple of different ones like the brass, and I liked the gold the best to match up. Right here, what you're looking at is original Electrolarm trim on the left, and then these that I created and painted on the right. The brass works if you want something toned down, because a lot of times the trim will be sort of, it won't be as bright as if somebody had just polished it. So, but that's how I did these. Okay, and so when you're looking at something like this, that's what you're seeing. All the trim on here is this plastic that I painted. Now, these parts are a little trickier. And I would say to get these, you're really going to have a pair of them like I do. But I'll tell you how I made these. So off of Amazon, I got silicone mold rubber. And I took an Altoid tin, followed the directions to make the mold, poured it in. Then in my last video, I was talking about how I also off of Amazon got resin epoxy. So I had this that I colored in order to repair breaks on the Electrolarm cases. And when I was done making the repairs on the cases, whatever I had left, I would take and just pour into my silicone mold here. And this is one that I just did. And so it comes out of there and looks like that. And this doesn't always come out perfectly. If you look carefully, you can see there's some, you know, some air holes, bubbles that were in this one. So I'm not going to use this one. I do a bunch of these and I just save them, and then I pick the best two out next time I do a clock. But this way you get the exact shape. And then what I simply did was painted the two pieces with this Rust-Oleum bright coat. And then I used this, which I don't think you have to use, but I think it's a pretty good match to the original. And this is Vallejo Model Air RLM 23 red. And so that's what you're looking at here, but I think any red is just fine. I have an airbrush, so I masked the imitation brass parts and then sprayed the red parts. Now, if you don't have this right here, you don't have two original pieces, then you can't make a mold of it and copy it. This is from the gentleman who does a really great job of making reproduction brass and wood strips for the Electrolarm. So these are his pieces, and it would be possible to create something like this out of, you know, just a flat piece of plastic, and would be better than just leaving it, you know, blank. If you could do this right here without having all the pieces to copy, but this is tougher, but that would be better than nothing. So so that's the deal with the trim. As for the wooden trim, it's so complex that I've never attempted to imitate it. And I go ahead and just buy the trim that this guy is selling on eBay, which I think is well worth it, because for me to do this trim myself would take forever. All right, so so that's the different options that I have with the trim. Now I'm going to mention this here, and that is the Electrolarm, of course, had the light in it. And the light bulbs that were used in these clocks were the GE Mazda number 41. Okay, and I've gotten clocks in that have different bulbs, and not one of them has ever lit up for me. So I don't know if it's because they don't work, or if it's because they're burned out or whatever. But these are the only ones that have ever lit up for me in a Telechron GE clock. And they don't make them anymore, which is a problem. So you can still find them sometimes on eBay. That's where these came from. Okay, so if you go on to eBay and look for Mazda 41 light bulbs, you can sometimes get them. They wind up being a little expensive because they're not in production anymore. But that's what I use in the Electrolarms to get the light on.